Hi students, we are going to study about the topic memory specifications. So this topic consists of three subtopics, that is memory according to the interfaces, memory shadowing, and the third one is selection of memory for an embedded system. So first of all, we will look into memory according to the type of interface. So what is meant by an interface? Interface means an interconnection between the peripherals and the processor. So that is what is called interface. So how we connect a memory with the processor? So the device that we are using to connect memory, the processor is called bus. So normally the buses are parallel interfaces. Parallel interfaces means what? At once we will transmit or receive 8 bits. Okay, based on the processor, it can be 8 bits or 16 bits or 32 bits or 64 bits. It depends on the number of words that is present in the processor. Okay, so parallel interface is the fastest type of interface. It can transmit many number of bits within a clock cycle. That is a peculiarity of parallel interface. Parallel interface is always fast. Okay, so the device we are using to connect a peripheral with the processor is what? A bus. Okay, so here we are considering an example of an 8-bit processor. So if you are using an 8-bit processor, it is capable of processing 8 bits of data. Okay, so the data will be like what? 0 to D0 to D7. So this D0 to D7, that is one word. That one word will be taken from the processor to the memory or from the memory to the processor at once. That is a peculiarity of parallel interface. But if we have to connect externally, if you want to connect a device externally to an embedded system, we have to go for serial interface. So the types of serial interfaces that we are using are I2C interface or two-line interface. That is one type of serial interface. And SPI interface, serial peripheral interface. So the number of lines will be 2 plus n. So why it is 2 plus n? So here one line is for VCC, another one is for ground, and another one line is for connecting that particular peripheral device. Okay, so we can consider memory as a peripheral device. So N stands for the number of devices that are connected to the SPI bus. So the two types of serial interfaces are I2C interface and SPI interface. So this serial interface is mainly used in data storage memory such as EEPROM. So we discussed earlier what is an EEPROM. EEPROM means electrically erasable programmable read-only memory. So if we apply an voltage to this memory, all the data will be removed. That is a peculiarity of EEPROM. So the memory density of the serial interface memory, that is usually expressed in kilobits. So we have to note it is kilobits. So if you consider a parallel interface, then it will be like what? Kilobytes. So why this difference, kilobits and kilobytes? Because in serial communication we are transmitting bits one by one, back to back. We are sending the bits back to back. First bit will be transmitted, then second bit will be transmitted, or first bit will be received or second bit will be received, like that. So bit by bit we are communicating. That is the peculiarity of serial interface. But in parallel interface we are transmitting a byte at once or 2 bytes at once. So it is depending on the capacity of the bus. Okay, so that's why there is a difference, like kilobits and kilobytes. So obviously the speed will be reduced in serial interface or serial memory. If you are connecting a memory to a processor through serial interface, the speed of communication is always slow, always slow. So if you are connecting a parallel interface, then the speed is very high. So Atmega AT24C512 is an example for serial memory with a capacity of 512 kilobits, and it is having what, a 2-wire interface. So this is the memory according to the type of interface, and the two types of interfaces are parallel interface and serial interface. So this diagram shows an interfacing using parallel interface. Here we are connecting a flash memory or a data memory. So here, so if you look into this line here, D0 to D15, it is connected. Okay, this is connected to the processor. This portion is the processor and this is the flash memory. Here we are using a parallel line. This is a parallel line. So here we are using a buffer also. So what is the peculiarity of buffer? So if you are connecting a slow speed device with a high speed device or vice versa, to compensate the speed we have to use a buffer in between that. So here also we are using a buffer. Here a flash memory is used and a parallel connection is made between the processor and the memory. So this is a typical memory interfacing using parallel interface. So this is a serial interface. Here we have a SPI interface. So this one is this host is the microprocessor or a microcontroller. So in between this host and the memory we are using what, an SPI interface, that is serial peripheral interface is connected. So if you are having a serial peripheral interface, we can connect n number of memories or n number of peripheral devices. It is not specific just to memory, any peripheral devices we can connect it. Okay, so memory we are considering it as one of the peripheral devices. So host is a microprocessor or a microcontroller and an interface is there and there is a memory. So this is all about memory interfacing. So we studied two different types of memory interfacing, that is serial and parallel interfacing. So next one is memory shadowing. So this is a very important topic. What is memory shadowing? Okay, so before we study about memory shadowing, we have to look into BIOS. What is a BIOS? So the full form of BIOS is basic input output configuration ROM. So whenever we are changing any hardware or any software inside the computer, all the configuration will be stored inside the BIOS or ROM. Okay, even before we are loading the operating system. The most commonly used operating system is Windows. Okay, before loading the operating system, there is a basic input output system, basic operating system. That is what is called a BIOS. Okay, if you go to BIOS, we can see the configuration of the particular system. So what is the hard disk drive it is using, what is the capacity of the RAM, what is the clock speed of the processor, what are the peripherals connected, whether keyboard is connected or not, whether sound device is there, whether video card is available or not. All the configuration details are present inside the BIOS, and this BIOS is stored inside the ROM. Okay, so all these details about the configuration is stored inside the BIOS. So if you are changing any peripheral device, this change will also be stored inside the BIOS. Okay, so it is always stored in this value that we are changing. But if you, for example, if you are changing the RAM, then what happens? The system must know that change. So if you are changing the 4 GB RAM to 8 GB RAM, the system must know. Then only it can adopt to that particular change. Okay, that particular configuration is always stored inside the BIOS ROM. Okay, another one more thing is the execution speed of this ROM is always slow. Okay, so it requires what, 120 nanoseconds to 200 nanoseconds. So if you are using RAM, this speed will reduce to 40 nanoseconds to 70 nanoseconds. That means what, the speed is increased. Okay, so if you calculate, we can see that the RAM is 3 times faster than the ROM. Okay, so what is memory shadowing? So memory shadowing, what is the purpose of memory shadowing? Memory shadowing is used to increase the speed of execution. Memory shadowing is a technique that is used to increase the speed of execution. Okay, so we are considering a PC, that is our personal computer. So it is having a different hardware configurations, like we have to allocate addresses for input output ports, serial ports, peripheral devices, USB ports, other hardwares that we are connecting to the system. So for every system we have to allocate addresses and everything. So it will be like a table. Okay, so what memory shadowing does is, so already I told you, this configuration, this BIOS configuration is stored inside the ROM, a particular ROM that is present in the system. Okay, so this is controlled by the CMOS battery. Okay, so we are providing a CMOS battery to make this system live. Okay, when we boot up the system, so what is meant by booting? The booting process, when we turn on the system, so this BIOS information will be read and the system will act accordingly. Okay, so the system can find, the processor can find the addresses of the peripheral devices and everything. So that is the peculiarity of this BIOS. So in the latest computers, so the manufacturers are including a RAM along with the BIOS. Okay, normally BIOS is consisting of what? A ROM only. So along with the ROM, the manufacturers are using a RAM also. So what happens? So when we turn on the system, all the content that are present inside the ROM will be copied to the RAM. So that process is called shadowing. A copy of the BIOS is shadowed to the RAM, and that particular RAM is write protected. Write protected means what? Any further program we cannot write to that particular RAM, and then we will disable the reading of the ROM. So the content of the BIOS that is present inside the ROM is copied to the RAM, and the RAM will be write protected. We cannot further write anything other than the BIOS program. Then the original BIOS is there, no? That is the ROM, that will be read protected, that is it will be disabled, so that all the data, all the configuration data will be provided by the RAM only. So what is the purpose of this? The RAM is more fast than the ROM. That's why we are copying the content of the ROM to the RAM. So this is the process. This process is called memory shadowing. Next topic is memory selection for embedded systems. How we can select memory for a particular embedded system. So when we studied the first unit, we defined embedded system based on its size, based on its application. So the type of memory, that is whether we have to use a RAM or whether we have to use a ROM, that is entirely depending on the embedded system we are using or the application for which we are developing the embedded system. So there are many factors that are affecting the size and the type of the memory that we are using for an embedded system. Okay, suppose we have a chip. For example, we are having a microcontroller. So what is the peculiarity of the microcontroller? Inside the microcontroller chip itself, we have a ROM and a RAM. Okay, so the size of the ROM may be in the range of KB, kilobytes, or maybe 1 MB may be available. Okay, so we have to check for what application we are using that particular microcontroller. Okay, what is our application? If you are developing a large embedded system, then obviously the program will also be lengthy. Okay, so if the program is lengthy, means it requires more memory. Then we need what? More memory other than the memory that is available inside the chip. Okay, that time we have to depend on what? Some external ROM, external flash memory to write the program. Suppose we have to connect more sensors, then more data will be generated. All this data we have to store, then we have to depend on what? Some data memory also. Okay, so sometimes we require more program memory or sometimes we require more data memory. So all these depends on the type of application and the type of embedded system that we are using. Okay, so another one thing is, if it is a large embedded system, It obviously works on RTOS. So if it is a real-time embedded system, then it works on real-time operating system. Okay, so the amount of RAM required for running this operating system is very high. Okay, and there is a necessity to store the operating system. Okay, so we require what? ROM. Okay, while running the program we require more RAM, and for storing this operating system image we require a ROM. That is also very important. So there are mainly two parameters for representing a memory. One is size of the memory chip. Size of the memory chip means we will usually say like the chip is 128 MB or 256 MB. Okay, so it will always be the power of 2. Okay, so 4 KB, 8 KB, 16 KB, 32 KB, 64 KB, 128 KB, 256 KB, 512 KB, 1 MB. So like that we will say that is the size of the memory chip. Next one is word size of the memory. So normally we read 1 byte at a time. Okay, so normally the word size is 1 byte. So in some application, if you are using a 32-bit processor, so it needs to read 32 bits at a time. Okay, so that means how many bytes? 4 bytes need to be read at a time. Okay, if it is a 64-bit memory, then we have to read 8 bytes at a time or 64 bits at a time. Okay, so it depends entirely on the processor, what type of processor we are using. Okay, so the word size entirely depends on the processor. Size of the memory chip entirely depends on the total available memory bytes in a particular chip. So when we are selecting a memory, so we have to consider one important thing: how much memory addresses a processor can access. That thing we have to consider. Okay, for example, 8086 processor. So what is the maximum memory it can access? 1 MB only, or 2 raised to 20 addresses only it can access. Okay, so if you are connecting a 2 MB memory or 4 MB memory, it is not possible to access, because it can generate addresses. How many addresses? 2 raised to 20 addresses only. So using 2 raised to 20 addresses we can access only 1 megabyte. Okay, so before selecting a memory, so we have to consider the range or the number of memory locations the processor or controller can access. If you are not considering that thing, that memory is useless. Okay, so the most acceptable or supported word sizes are 4-bit, 8-bit, 12-bit, 16-bit, 24, 32, etc. So nowadays we are using 64-bit also. So every time we have to check the word size that is supported by the memory chip matches with the word size of the processor or the controller. That is very important. So these are the 3 topics we have to study about memory specification: memory based on interface, memory based on memory shadowing and memory selection for embedded system. So thank you for listening to this lecture. So if you have any queries, you can ask.